actually makes me wonder if they're planning on banning out Master Yi, because even though Dignitas have lost with Master Yi, Scar said that's still one of his favorite champions, and it's definitely one of the spectators' favorite champions. Everybody loves looking for those Yi sets.
Yeah, so the Yi sets, I see what you did there. Vulcun have managed to take out 2 ninjas so far, Zed, Ken, and these are very, very quick bans. On the other side, Elise, Evelyn, and Lissandra, but crucially, Diana and Ryze are still both available.
So they talked about focusing on Scar here, and Scar hasn't actually played Lissandra yet in the LCS, but we've been seeing her banned a lot because she can set up teamfights so incredibly well and offers a lot of CC to any team.
Incredibly popular over in Europe is Lissandra as well, being used extensively. Vulcun immediately locking in that Nunu. The Ryze has been handed over to Skara. We've been talking about it in the preamble. We'll see if he can go, 3 for 3 and match the record.
Yeah, that would even it up between the two, so they both have 3 wins with Ryze here. But really what I want to talk about is this Nunu pickup, because now that we're on the 3.9 patch, you know, they've reduced the true damage on that consume a little bit. He can still do the combo of flashing over and consume smiting. You're not going to be able to get rid of that one. But they did tone it down a notch, and his free HP from leveling up was also toned down. So that's actually a pretty decent hit to bring him back in line with other junglers.
So we'll see quite how well he'll be used in xSmithy's hands in that jungle for Vulcun. When you see the Lee Sin was locked in once again for Dignitas. We're seeing a significant amount of Lee over the side of the pond. He's outside of Arenea's hands, not all that popular in Europe. But Vulcun, they've locked in their AD carry and support, so they're leaving their solo laners for lost.
Yeah, Lee Sin has really made a resurgence over here because he's a very fun champion for a lot of these junglers to play, and he has some of the capabilities of making those spectacular plays, which most of these guys love trying to pull off here. Crumbs especially has always loved the Lee Sin and the Xin Zhao because of their early game prominence and their early game playmaking ability. A side effect of taking that Lee Sin in the jungle early is that he usually will pick up that sight zone to accommodate for his blindness, and that allows a lot of free vision for your team as he's trying to jump around and make those moves in the jungle.
We'll see how quickly Crumbs can get his hands on that sight stone. Now, Cutie Pie is hovering over Sivir. It was actually used earlier today in the EU LCS. It didn't work out all that well, however, but it has been swapped over. So Fiddlestick's locked in. Fiddlestick's Kate, another support fiddle. You know, Jat mentioned in the previous game, it's not like super niche, but it is one of those fringe support champions.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of people favor the heavy crowd control supports here over the sustain ones. Sona being the exception. That's pretty much the main sustain support that we see, because she also brings crowd control with the crescendo there. So Fiddlestick's extremely popular, and he can get off to a very early start. Like we saw Edward, don't even put any points into Drain, because your strongest attributes that you're bringing to a team fight are the silence and the fear.
So just max those up as quickly as possible. Dignitas leaving most likely their top laner, could be mid laner if Kiwi Kid wanted to take that Ryze. You know, we've seen Kiwi Kid and Skara chopping and changing the champions and even positions throughout the split, so it's something that you've always got to keep in mind. However, Zuna has locked in his Kog'Maw, and I'm going to say his Kog'Maw because nobody else is really playing it to the same level.
It's pretty interesting that they've decided for Kog'Maw even when Tristana is available too, because he's pretty much had a clear order of AD carries that he prefers. Kog'Maw's on the list, but Tristana's always been the queen, the one at the top of that list. And it's because she does have the extra escape with her rocket jump. So maybe this is some training for Zuna that they decided after his poor positioning last week, they want to force him on Kog'Maw so that he has no rocket jump and he doesn't get over aggressive. If you're on Kog'Maw and you have poor positioning, you're at the front of the fight, you'll instantly pay for it there. So we're definitely gonna have to keep eyes on that Zuna play. He's gonna have to work around the Nunu ultimate and the crescendo from Sona there. So he's got some good backup, but we're definitely gonna have to keep our eyes on his positioning in team fights.
While Dignitas are locking in their last champion, the composition has been rounded out for Vulcun. They've got Ezreal, Kog'Maw, Zac, Nunu. So Nunu, Zac could go lane, could go jungle. We're most likely gonna see Zac in one of the solo lanes. And maybe even a mid lane Ezreal is a possibility.
Yeah, it's looking like a very strong team here because of the disengage, but also because of the re-engage that they could use after blowing the cooldowns here off of Dignitas. What you want to do against like a team with Fiddlesticks is bait out the Crow Storm and basically slow him down and kite him, and then re-engage after that's down, because he's very squishy after that. And if you can get a hold of him, then they can blow him up easily. So one of the popular strategies, like you said, bringing 2 AD carries works a lot when you use a utility tank jungler and a utility tank top laner.
So that's working in their favor. We'll see whether or not this all-in composition of Dignitas will be able to stick to Vulcun long enough to make this damage, matter. We are loading up into the game very, very shortly, and two very different compositions, two very different styles of gameplay. The laning in the early game is going to be instrumental for both of these teams.
And they're going to have to pay attention to not only the laning in the early game, but the jungling in the early game. Anytime you have Nunu in the game, the buffs are constantly under contest. Everybody's working so hard to keep the timers on every single buff, not just your own, but all the enemy ones as well, because those are so important now with all the extra experience being allotted onto them. We'll have to be keeping track of Smithy as well as all 4 jungle timers of each 4 buffs.
And something that Vulcun will definitely have to keep their eyes on is all the vision as well. To keep up the pressure, make sure they can carry on stealing as those buffs respawn. We are in game right now. It is, of course, Vulcun on the left-hand side in the blue trunks, as well as Dignitas on the right-hand side of your screen in the red trunks. Starting, there's a lot of biscuits and a large number of wards, but more so in favor of Dignitas than Vulcun.
Yeah, I mean, every time we've seen Rise, he's gone utility, gone for that biscuit. Scar also picks up the extra ward here, and he actually places it extremely early just to get out some vision and see if Vulcun go for the red side invade, while Crumbs is going to try and see Bloodwater here.
So he'll probably spot him out, but we're just getting a very deep ward down. He's very lucky that there's no one else, but he's extremely out of position now, deciding to go the long way around. And on Dignitas, they're quite aggressive themselves.
So definitely some expected wards from Dig over here, the normal Wraith ward and the red Bush ward. But the interesting thing put down here by Bloodwater was the double Golems ward at the very top. We'll also see some extra vision for that top lane. So it makes me wonder if they're going to want to try and contest some early action here on the red side jungle.
Some very brave moves from both Batoy and Bloodwater, just solo, running through their enemy's jungle. Nobody willing to commit to a fight or really get involved, though, so nobody's caught out. And we'll see who's going to make use of this information more. You have to feel that Dignitas, with all this additional vision and poising, they really want to be 100% aware of where Xmithy is, what he's doing, and try to keep tabs on him so they don't get invaded on.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest parts when you are against the Nunu is the first 4 buffs that spawn. If one team's able to grab 3 out of those 4, it's a huge win for them. And Nunu's always the one that brings that extra threat. So what they're actually going to do is a delayed invade over at the blue just to see that Dignitas have not started there. And Smithy, it makes me think that he'll probably be going over there second, since the AD carry and supports are both bottom.
So we'll have to keep our eyes on this invade. They did get that ward down on the blue buff, and you can see that Lee Sin is over towards his red. So as Crumbs decides to move around, maybe the pressure is going to be enough to set it up. We are going to see straight matchups in this game. Zac versus Rumble in the top, as well as Ezreal versus Rise in the middle, and our duo lanes down bottom. And it's just going to be a little bit of a slugfest to see who's going to get this early lane dominance.
And the main difference there from that level 1 was that we had Smithy using his smite because he soloed his own red buff. Whereas Crumbs over here still has his available, and they are going to be able to both get their own buffs secured. No early disadvantage for that Lee Sin. So now it's on Crumbs to make an early move, try and pull off a gank before Nunu has time to come into his jungle.
So a tentative start here from both of these teams, and almost on cue, Crumbs is moving his way towards this mid lane. He does have those double buffs up. A little bit of pings on the blue side of the jungle, so Vulcun are aware of Crumbs' positioning, and they're playing a little bit defensively as Zuna and Bloodwater are a little overextended.
Yeah, they haven't felt the need to pull back here because they do have the upper hand down there in that bottom lane, and Crumbs was seen coming through the river. So Smithy has taken this time to gain an experience advantage. He's cleared an extra camp now on Crumbs and it's all because of that one ward that Vulcun did have in the bottom side river.
Vision is going to be so important for both of these junglers, as they're both incredibly mobile and want to be getting in their opponent's faces. So we'll have to see how this next round of wards, where and when they get put down to determine some of the plays. Psychosid and Kiwi Kid just trading up here in the top lane. A lot of damage, and look at Scara forced to flash away from Manclouds.
Very, very early flash here. We do have Manclouds flash up as well, so he does have kill potential in this mid lane, and that's why you can see the junglers hovering around. They're just waiting to pounce on this mid lane with the vulnerable Rise.
So Ignite is available for Scara, but Ignite is not for Mancloud, as that previous engage is just trading damage back and forth. There's a fairly large wave here for Mancloud, as we do see Smithy coming in from the side. Ice Blast lands. Mancloud gets the last hit, and that's first blood on the board.
Yeah, vulnerable Rise there. No flash means no escape, and he also didn't have vision, so great job by Smithy taking advantage of that pop summoner that Mancloud was able to get rewarded with first blood. Meanwhile, top, speaking of ward coverage here, since Psycho Sid did start that Doran shield, Dignitas are very much aware that he has no wards. There's no vision up in that top side, but because Rumble's damage is mostly AoE, he's always constantly shoving, and it's very hard for an early dive to come from that Dignitas side.
Down in the bottom lane, the pressure is on as Bloodwatch is forced to back away. Ignite was ticking, he survives it. Zuna sticks around, burns through the last of his mana, putting as much damage down as possible, as now we jump to the top lane. Flash away from Kiwi Kid. The Ice Blast is going to land. 210 HP on the board. They're going to start face tanking the tower. Overheat is up. Tower hit's going to drop Big Smithy. They're going to trade 1-for-1, and Psychosid gets away with his life.
Almost popped the Zac passive as well. Very close right there. And this is the second time that we've seen Rumble come out with a kill in a 2-versus-1 situation. Not quite as clean as balls there, but Kiwi Kid was able to grab one.
Well played by Kiwi Kid to at least get that kill on the board. He's even with CS and has got the same number of kills as his lane opponent, so we'll see what he decides to actually pick up in the shop. Amp Tome as well as that Ruby Crystal. So going to be working towards some early penetration to make that strong damage of Rumble stick.
And we've seen an early Sight Stone picked up by the Nunu, which is exactly what you want to do as this champion. You want to continue to place wards deep inside the enemy jungle so that he can get his counter jungling going here.
So we'll see how and where these wards get positioned. Smithy, 2 ganks placed, 2 of them successful. He's hovering around the mid lane again, well aware that Scar's flash is not up or available. He's basically just waiting for the go sign from Mancloud.
Yeah, basically what we have is another minute, because the 5-minute spawn time on these buffs means that at around 7 minutes is when the next one is going to come back up. So Nunu would like to preemptively ward inside Dignitas jungle and get vision of Crumbs so that he can be safe in his next invade and go for that 7-minute, which would be red buff that would come up for Crumbs here.
We'll see if he does actually decide to move up towards them. Mancloud's the man that's taking the small walk over. He's got a ward in his back pocket. Psycho Sid and Kiwi Kid going toe-to-toe. That's a level 6 almost on both of them. The Mancloud's coming in from the side.
And that's because Psycho Sid saw the ward placement. He always used Let's Bounce.
So take a look at that. Equalizer is now available for Kiwi Kid if he wants to use it. He's turned tail. He's trying to run, but he's running the opposite direction. This is enemy territory he's heading towards. One tower hit gets picked up, the second in the background. He's trying to just deny an assist from Mancloud, and it does look like Psycho Sid will be able to pick this one up. He's taking Kiwi Kid on a long walk down the beach.
Mancloud doesn't want to waste any more time. He wants to get right back to that lane. Meanwhile, Scar's taking this time of freedom to roam down bottom.
Now Zuna's been feared up. The drain is on. He's been silenced as well. A lot of damage from PewDiePie, and that drops him down to 100, but Zuna does get away thanks to that flash and barrier.
And not level 6 there for PewDiePie, so there's no ace in the hole, no sneaky snipe going to come out and try and finish him. Basically 2 sort of wasted roams there by both mid laners. And no kills coming down.
Got to give some props to Kiwi Kid for at least realizing, look, I'm going to die, and at least denying some of that golden experience to his opponents and taking Psycho Sid on that walk. So Zac is now 2-0 in lane, 47 CS to 35, and looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's actually a fairly substantial amount of gold. It's an extra 50% on any kill if you do add an assist to any member, sir. So it's definitely worth it to take that route. And Kiwi Kid made the best of a bad situation. Now, though, he's going to have to deal with a Negatron cloak Zac. So not only is Zac going to be healing up so much from his passive in those bloblets, but he's got the magic resistance to basically ward off most of that damage.
We'll see how well it can work for Psycho Sid. They've now return to that lane as the blue buff has been picked up and donated there to ManCloud. Dignitas' blue buff is still on the map. Crumbs and Scara have not made a move for it just yet. You have to feel that that's going to be the next objective they'll be looking to pick up. Up in the top lane, Smithy is once again sniffing around, trying to set up yet another gank. He's been omnipresent on this map.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's focused mostly on ganks instead of counter jungling here. But he's not really worried about getting that very early jungle presence because they're running a double AD comp. So his Blood Boil is basically what they're looking for him in the late game. They just want his extra scaling for these ADs, and they're happy to just sort of beef up their lanes with constant ganks rather than trying to keep down Crumbs with the invade.
So we'll see how well it works out in terms of the mid lane. Talking about those ADs, Mandatory Cloud 75 CS to Scar's 61. He actually soloed his blue buff while Crumbs was defending off that lane and picking up a little bit of lane tax. So both mid laners returning and stacking up that tier of the goddess. Keeping in mind it is 3.9.
Flash Spear!
Fear is out. Bloodwater's been moved over to the side. He's going to get dropped before Crescendo can go off. Crowstorm is being channeled as Smithy jumps forward. Absolute Zero is now out. Patoy's going to be the next one to fall. They trade support for support.
So Patoy does go for 1 point in drain life there. You can see the ineffectiveness of a support Fiddlesticks trying to drain tank there, and he does end up going down. But the flash was also burned. Psycho Sid now engaging on Kiwi Kid.
So Let's Bounce is available, as is his Ignite. While he's overheating, Kiwi Kid's just going to back away safely, and Psycho Sid decides not to go all in on that one. On the other hand, Kiwi Kid's put a lot of damage down to Psycho.
He is in the danger zone right now, so he's getting the extra 50% damage on that Flame Spitter. You can see the effectiveness right there, even through a Negatron Cloak.
So thanks to that, almost just the damage is shredding his HP bar. Overheating once again, picking up as many last hits as possible. Jump back to the mid lane, and ManCloud is basically just farming us up. We've seen him use a number of True Shot barrages just to keep the pressure pushed and keep Scar's Rise on the defensive.
One of the very old weaknesses that people always used to list on Rise was his difficulty farming under turret. That's mostly before 6 and before he has a blue buff, though. At this point, Scar is free to just spam his spells for all the last hits, and it shouldn't be hard for him to keep up in CS.
Psycho Sid's bouncing, jumping in there, slingshots onto Kiwi Kid and gets him down to below 1,000 HP, but it's just a slugfest. They're just trading blows back and forth, and neither player is really committed to a full fight yet.
It's very nice for Psycho Sid that he's going up against an AP solo laner, because building Spirit Visage is already a great item on Zac because he does so much healing that the increased healing from that it definitely pays off. Just being able to lane against a magic user means that he can build the Negatron Cloak early and get into that lane bullying situation.
Almost double its effectiveness as is coming up against a double AP Dignitas. ManCloud in the mid lane takes a lot of damage from Scar's Rise as 3 members of Dig are now jumping on Dragon. Up in the top lane, Kiwi Kid does look like he's going to go down. Psycho Sid, he misses the stretching arms down the bottom lane. Dragon has been started.
So they lose a kill, and they're also going to lose a dragon!
Crescendo was locking up 3 members. Bloodwater picks up the first kill in this bottom lane. ManCloud's trying to focus out Scar, but it turns his attention to Crumbs. That's a double kill there for Bloodwater. Dragon has not been finished yet, and Vulcun now have positioning.
Vulcun win both the 1 vs 1 top and the 4 vs 4 down at Dragon. They're going to be rewarded with that extra global gold right now. Ooh, this is really a huge turning point for this Vulcun team, especially since they are running the double ADs that will be very potent in the late game.
4,000 gold difference between these two teams right now. 7 kills to 2. Even though there's no towers on the board just yet, Vulcun are really grabbing this game by the reins.
Plus, we just saw another Arcane Barrage from ManCloud right there to just get the extra CS and clear out the minions that were at his turret. When we talk about pressure in the different lanes, a lot of the times we're referring to the minion waves being pushed up and the free damage that Scar could get on that turret, but because of the kit that Ezreal does possess, able to clear that one out and relieve that pressure.
And it allows Vulcun just to exert the control over all areas of the map, even while doing that gank down towards the bottom, and keeps up all of that, the minions in their favor in the mid lane. We see a Manamune has already been completed for ManCloud as his first major item, and it's something we're seeing a little bit more of because of the changes to tier.
Yeah, you want to get that upgraded even quicker now because it's going to charge on auto attack, and the regular tier does stack quite a bit slower now. So he immediately returns to grab this red buff here, as an Ezreal at any point in the game with red buff adds that extra annoying factor that is really the reason that the blue buff Ezreal was started, and being able to slow people with your Mystic shots.
Yeah, from range, keeping yourself safe, and if you get any poked out, dive in for the fight once again. True Shot Barrage used to just hit a couple minions. I don't think it was ideally aimed, but ManCloud's going to be able to finish off most of this mid lane and maintains that CS advantage over his opponent, but it is what you would expect in an AD carry versus a mage setup.
Well, he's just continuing on with the same strategy that's been working for him so far, using his ability. Oh, there we go, crescendo.
Cutie-Pie's been locked up. Smithy's trying to put himself in position. Absolute Zero is available. He starts to channel it, immediately kicked away as Crumbs throws out the Dragon's Rage kick. He's going to safeguard over to a ward, actually, not giving the shield over to Cutie-Pie. He's the first one to fall before the Crow Storm comes in. You can hear them cawing in the background. Like Smithy surviving it all. Barrier pop by Zuna. The focus is on Kog'Maw. Can they get him down? The answer is no. Bloodwater picks up his third kill of the game as Skara arrives to the party, but you are not early enough.
There's the power of the double supports plus AD carry on the bottom lane. Such control added from the Sona and Nunu combo, where it allows Zuna to just fire away from the back line and continually put out damage without having to worry about his position.
So well played to them. We'll see if Zuna can keep up that positioning in the mid lane. ManCloud's been held in place by Skara. They're trading back and forth with blue and red. ManCloud feels he likes his chances. True Shot Barrage goes out. A great Mystic shot onto the backside of Skara, dropping very, very low. ManCloud's thinking about this, but decides against it.
That was all because of the roam down bottom there from Skara, trying to alleviate the minion wave on that bottom turret there. And Mandatory Cloud, again, with the same strategy, just continually shoving that mid lane. Now he's even on the secondary turret, and no one's answering that minion wave.
So 3 towers in favor of Vulcun. Now they've picked up the first dragon of the game. We see in the top lane, Psycho Sid has a 2-level advantage over his opponent, Kiwi Kid. In the mid lane, Mandatory Cloud, a 2-level advantage over Skara. It's all going well for them right now.
So this Nunu team, finally they do get a buff steal, but it's actually Mandatory Cloud on the Ezreal who's taking away the blue buff. No consume necessary.
So just too strong right now. With those buffs, he had them already. The Shot Barrage! It lands from downtown. We've been talking how he's using it to clear out waves. There he used it to secure a kill.
And we were talking about Mandatory Cloud's large list of champions that he can pull from. We didn't talk about any of the AD carries that he can actually pull from, but he's definitely showing here that he is well versed on that Ezreal.
And this is something that we see, again, not in every single game, but double AD carries, it's a strat you can pull off, and if you get ahead, it's such a great position to be in with all of that damage to follow up your utility tank, you know, top laner and jungler in this case. Zuna, very overextended right now, realizes that Bloodwater is coming to help him out from the side, and they're just keeping the pressure on this inner turret.
Yeah, I was going to say, the reason he's up there is because he knows he's got Bloodwater with not only ward coverage of the full blue side jungle, but also an Oracles to clear out the wards of Dignitas. So if Dignitas want to make Zuna pay for pushing up this far, they have to go into Fog of War, and they will be unaware of any counter gank situation.
Psycho Sid decides he wants to bounce up in Kiwi Kid's grill, manages to dodge the first Electro Harpoon, eats the second one. Unstable Matters are popping, another slingshot backs up, he's burned his Ignite, gonna carry on chasing, Equalizer is out, the Ignite's ticking away, and Psycho Sid picks up an easy kill.
Psycho Sid did not take any damage for the first 20 seconds of that fight because he's been stacking that magic resist, and he has the heal, the extra 20% there from the Spirit Visage on top of his passive. It was just, you can see the effect of any rumble there, and you can tell this top lane is going to go from bad to worse right now.
Dignitas are faltering in every single lane right now. That gold deficit is up to 9,000 at the 18-minute mark. That's 50% of the HP dropped on the inner turret in the top lane. The inner turret in the mid lane is being dropped as well, and Zuna's going to carry on pushing this bottom lane. It's everything in favor of Vulcun right now.
Exactly. They're just constantly shoving up the minion wave, so that gives you 2 benefits. Not only are you going to be able to constantly deny your enemy minion kills to the turrets and get damage on those turrets, but you also constantly have vision of your enemies because the minions are always shoved up into their lanes, and that allows you to take whatever you want out of their jungle here. As you can see there, they were even going for those double golems, but Cutie Pie claims that soul.
Next, Smithy and ManCloud taking away the wolf camp over here. They've taken the blue buff away. They've now stacked up a couple numbers on this tower, and Crumbs, he hasn't really got a lot of items to contest as Dignitas and the rest of the team group up in the mid lane to try to defend, but they're losing so much HP in this bottom lane.
Nobody can go up to answer Zac and nobody can come answer this dual lane of Bloodwater Zuna because of that perimeter wards that they've placed so deep in Dignitas jungle. Here's KiwiKid gonna pay once again.
Xsmithy's gonna go in, Absolute Zero's being channeled. Psycho Sid not using Let's Bounce just yet, decides to back away. Smithy's actually gonna get dropped. A little bit overconfident.
Yeah, he's not paying anything.
Got caught out there, ate too much damage from the equalizer in the bottom lane. Bloodwater and Zuna, they're playing very, very safe. Crescendo locks up Cutie Pie, Exhaust is down. Blade of the Rune King gets pulled down, Cutie Pie gets dropped. All too easy for the two of them.
You have limited resources on your team. There's only 5 members, so if they send those 2 up to the top to help KiwiKid, Patoy going up there to support him, it means that we had Cutie Pie left all by his lonesome down there with the 2 from Vulcun.
And Zuna's just going to 1v1. Crumb's going to carry on chasing. Flash forwards. He gets a rampage 4-0-3, tanking up that tower for a number of hits, but he does survive. Up in the top lane, Psycho Sid once again going all in on KiwiKid. Let's Bounce is available, decides against it.
And KiwiKid's cooldowns are not back up right now, so it is a bit dangerous. But the reason he backed off is because of the wards in that jungle for Vulcun. Saw Scar moving up, and he was afraid of the counter game.
4th tower of the game secured for Vulcun, and Dignitas just, they haven't really been able to make a play stick. They've been reacting and trying to claw back whenever Vulcun dive in, all since that first dragon.
Yeah, very nice early game here from Vulcun, who are definitely known as a late game team. They've really been able to snowball that early lead, and the reason, or the way that they do this is continually picking up these free objective, or not, this extra dragon when they have the vision from the shoved up minion waves.
Yeah, it's complete control of every single lane right now. Going to give them all the time in the world to pick up that Drake. Mandalorian Cloud with that Last Whisper returns to the mid lane. Put some poke down into Scar, and Scar is fairly beefy right now. Getting very close to, a couple of completed items, but nothing completed yet. Still sitting on the tier, still sitting on the Glacial Shroud and the Warden's Mail. He hasn't completed a big ticket item at the 20-minute mark.
He's got a whole bunch of mana, though, which does scale up Ryze's damage, and he's been building in preparation for this late game dual AD combination. You can see he's put a lot of emphasis on the armor. So he's going to eventually get that Frozen Heart, and he's already got the Warden's Mail. So he's going to try and get as many attack speed slow items as he can. Being able to stack those 2 would be a great benefit for the team, because anytime either Zuna or Mandalorian Cloud attack him, they are going to have their attack speed reduced a great deal, and it can counter that Blood Boil. The thing is, Vulcun have this 10k gold lead already, and they've got Vision of Baron. Don't know if they're even going to let Scar get to that point.
So we'll see if they manage to jump it in. We just see Psycho Sid launches himself in with that Elastic Slingshot. Crumbs does have a couple of wards, no Sightstone yet. But he's going to make do just picking up each individual item. Patoy was poising himself, was thinking about that Crow Storm over the wall, decides against it. In terms of the AD carries, Cutie Pie does have his Infinity Edge, which is crucial for his damage, but Zuna's not very far off that right now.
No, and Zuna, even not being very far off, his Infinity Edge didn't come at much of a cost. He's rushed that Blade of the Rune King as per usual for him, which could allow them to take down a Baron very quickly. And if they do come out ahead in this one, then he's going to be able to pick up that Infinity Edge. Zac actually is still up in the top lane here, though, so they are going to pull back.
So they do have pink wards in there. At least they knew that Dignitas weren't 100% aware of it. Now that Dig have pushed forward, they'll need to be a bit more cautious than they try again.
Now Zac's coming around for the back!
The Crescendo locks them up. Scarage just gets deleted from the map. A double kill for Mandatory Cloud, but he's not done. Arcane shifts aggressively forward. 2 easy kills for Vulcun.
Vulcun definitely have free reign now. They can easily take this top turret, and Cutie Pie does get caught.
It's not over yet. Another Mystic Shot lands. Cutie Pie's dropped. Barrier forces up. There goes the Arcane shift forward as Mancloud gets feared. He goes back into the tower. Dragon's Rage kick knocks him in the background. Bloodwater picks up his 4th kill of the game as Let's Bounce comes out from Psycho Sid. They get 1 kill back, but that's 4 members of Dignitas down.
And they only took out one of the AD carries. Zuna's still here. They're going to be able to continue this march on the mid lane.
So mid inner turret is down. Xsmithy's bashing away on the top inner turret. They've got vision control of their opponent's jungle, and once Mancloud respawns, he's just going to amplify all the damage they've got. That's a 13,000 gold lead right now.
So those 2 secondary turrets that they just got off of that team fight mean that there's even more control on this Baron side of the map. So if Vulcun return over there and they clear out the Baron, then there's a long stretch of ground that Dignitas have to cover to contest the next Baron. with Zuna having that Blade of the Ruin King that we talked about, plus his Kog'Maw W, they will be able to shred that Baron very quickly.
And if you look at the mini-map, all of the vision is there to back that up. Make the map look like a Christmas tree is the policy. Azuna gonna go toe-to-toe. Skara thinks he wants this fight. He does have his Frozen Heart completed. He's gonna chase in. Void Ooze is up. Zuna's gonna carry on chasing. Bloodwater's coming in to help out. The heal, a little bit of poke, and that was all too easy.
Yeah, Zuna did a really good job of kiting into the bush, though. Even though he had backup coming, he baited Skara in even further until he was able to use that combo and make sure he couldn't get away by laying down the Void Ooze comboed with the Blade of the Ruin King activation.
So you can definitely tell Skara's feeling the pressure right now. Feeling like he needed to go in, try that 1v1, try to pull something back. He's currently 0-3-0 and starting to fall off the pace as far as CS is concerned. But when every single lane is pressured, it's difficult to respond if you're Dignitas. You can see middle lane, bottom lane, it's being attacked by 2 AD carries.
Yeah, the Warden spell didn't help Skara. Now we have the offensive here for Dignitas. They're going right on Zuna.
The Crescendo locks them up, but Toy does manage to get the Ghost Storm out though. Rumble picks up the first kill. That is onto Kog'Maw. Smithy's trying to back away. Now in the mid lane, keep your eyes, Zac and Ezreal. They're on the towers. They've got that down. Patoy is dropped. His HP is low. He's draining away the best he can. That's a support and a jungler that secured that one up. Cutie Pie is going to carry on chasing. Ace in the hole goes up. Going to be able to secure the kill. Skara trying to defend, but it's not enough. They trade 2 for 2 and an inhib.
Dignitas didn't have any choice. That was their desperation right there. They had to hard engage. They were able to trade 2 kills, but because of that, Skara by himself in the mid was not able to defend, and Vulcun did take the inhibitor off of that one.
So one thing that does play into Dignitas' favor a little bit, the minions are now going to be even more on their doorstep. If they can control those waves and farm, they can try close this 15,000 gold deficit, but it's a difficult position to be in.
It's compounded by the fact that Baron's still up. So if they huddle in their base and they try and take advantage of those waves constantly pushing to their base to farm up, then Vulcan's just going to go ahead and grab that Baron, and they'll come knock in next time with a purple buff.
We'll see if they can get their hands on that purple buff. Vision once again going out from Bloodwater, maintaining superiority in that pit, just trying to get as much control as possible. If you look at the top lane though, ManCloud is a little bit out of position. He's being surrounded. Cutie Pie's coming in, going to trade damage back and forth. ManCloud is so much stronger though. He's going to drop Cutie Pie before Skara can even get there, and another kill for ManCloud.
This is a solo lane, Ezreal. Remember Cutie Pie here that you're trying to deal with, and with the blue buff on him, blue build, Ezreal definitely comes out ahead, and now Skara has to run too. So
Skara's on the back foot. He's been dropped. Exhaust was out. So much damage down, almost getting ManCloud out, but Xmithy was pulling away the rest of Dignitas, ensuring they didn't respond. And with those kills, I think ManCloud's taking the lead for most kills in the LCS.
He definitely does not want to give up that crown. He's making a great case for himself. After those 2 kills, not only does it give ManCloud the title, but Vulcun are also going to be able to get a 4-man Baron while simultaneously split pushing the bottom lane.
Crescendo locks up Crumbs. He is just dropped. Slingshot is going to be available for Sid in a second as he gets back into that pit. Free pit, free kill, and the bottom lane now, Kog'Maw pushing the lane down.
Again, you can't blame Crumbs too much for that one. It's a desperation move that Dignitas are in right now. They're taking chances that they normally wouldn't take because they're so far behind. Basically, their hope was that they could somehow miraculously steal that Baron. Crumbs didn't even plan on getting out of that one if he did, but that's the danger of trying to steal a Baron against a team that can hop walls.
So one of the things that is playing into Vulcan's favor is the fact that Bloodwater is not hesitating on those crescendos. He's using them to lock up single targets, securing the kill on the target, and then rolling onto the objective. And it's something that you have to give him props for. He's currently 4-1-11, maybe securing a few too many kills.
That's the reason why Sona's his favorite support, and he's picked him so often in the LCS, though, is because of the kit there, with the Crescendo being such a powerful game-changing ultimate. Even coming from a support, Bloodwater makes plays all day long.
So that we see once again, two-shot barrage being thrown up to that top lane. Can at least maintain complete control of every single lane in the game. 7 towers to 0. Vulcun have not even lost a single one of their turrets. The inhib will be respawning shortly in this mid lane, and you can see Vulcun, they want to keep the pressure on. They want to make sure they've got super minions pushing against their opponents.
With the Baron buff and their main tank being Zac, they can also easily go for a tower dive. So if Cutie Pie is down bottom right here, Zac can start up a fight and be able to tank that turret for a very long time.
With 2 AD carries, they're just shredding that tower's HP down. That was a wave and a half worth of creeps, and with Kog'Maw and Ezreal, they've dropped it down. The next wave that appears, maybe the go sign, maybe the let's fight, especially with Potoy taking all that damage.
The poke there from Ezreal really paying off, and he does get it!
He got it with the true shot barrage. That is a 5 versus 4 now. Crescendo locks him back up. Cutie Pie has been dropped. In the background, Kiwi Kid is now down. Zuna gets the tower while Mangler carries on fighting. Slingshot is being charged up, decides against it. And then with the inhib down and the Nexus turrets free, Vulcun are going to secure the win.
Congratulations to Vulcun, well-deserved win. Just talked about how Cloud9's execution is amazing. Vulcan's is definitely deserving of the second place spot in the LCS.
And they're even able to pick up a kill on the fountain steps. Zuna, in conjunction with the rest of the team, just shredding Skara down. 0-5-0, 28-6. That's a pretty one-sided shutout.